Jay Quellen. No Jay Quellen here? Balake. Where is Balake at? Ron.
Ron, right here, everyone. Happy Thursday, and welcome back to the channel. Guys, we have heard stories of David Miscavige beating people up, beating up his subordinates, beating up specifically Sea Org members who work under him. But what we have not heard is the story of David Miscavige assaulting an executive producer on Nightline. Back in 1992, David Miscavige gave his only live media interview, one of his only interviews, period. And actually, there's a video I uploaded to this channel of a high-quality version of that interview with chapter breaks. So if you haven't seen it, you may want to check it out. But in Mike Rinder's book, he tells the story of what happened in that interview, and specifically what happened just prior to that interview, because it actually took 9 months of negotiations between Nightline and Miscavige to come to terms on how this interview was going to be conducted. And just minutes before Miscavige was scheduled to walk out and begin the interview, the executive producer, Tom Bettag, informed Miscavige there was going to be a change, and Miscavige flipped out. I'm going to let Mike Rinder tell you the story. This is an excerpt from the audiobook that Mike narrates. As you can hear, this is only a few minutes long. Check this out.
On the evening of the interview, we had arrived in the green room just outside the studio when Nightline's executive producer, Tom Bettag, informed Miscavige they planned to extend the show from its normal 30 minutes to an hour and break it into 2 parts. Bettag explained that each part would be introduced by pieces that Forrest Sawyer had prepared. "You know what is in your packages and I don't," Miscavige almost hissed, the seething anger in his voice unmistakable. "You'll ask me things in the first segment to make me look bad when the second piece airs. Show me the pieces right now before we go on air." Bettag responded by saying they never showed these intro pieces to the guests, period. Miscavige hit the roof and threatened to walk out, accusing Nightline of ambushing him. Bettag stood his ground and said this was the way things were going to happen. That was until Miscavige grabbed him by the shirt collar, pushed him against the wall, and screamed in his face, "You lied! You're trying to fuck me over! You handle this or we're all walking out." This was the only time I witnessed Miscavige physically assault a non-Scientologist. It was shocking, but at the time, I believed it had been required for the right outcome. And it worked. Bettag was so taken aback, he caved. They agreed to run both packages at the top of the show. Miscavige walked out of the room, still seething mad, and sat down with Koppel, where they watched the intro segments live together before starting the interview. It was a train wreck. All I could think was, glad it's not me sitting there trying to deal with Koppel's questions.
Wow. Now remember, guys, this is before any of the stories that are, kind of seeped into popular culture now of the stories that we've heard in things like Going Clear and Scientology in the Aftermath, and in a bunch of reporting from the Tampa Bay Times of, Miscavige creating like a prison at the international management base and, beating up Mike Rinder, beating up Jeff Hawkins, hitting Mark Headley, all the stuff. All the stuff we've heard of came after the Nightline interview. And yet I do still find it kind of surprising that Ted Koppel would not have somehow taken advantage of an opportunity on air to call Miscavige out for having literally just battered an executive producer. Now, guys, in this story, Mike talks about a package, and he talks about 2 packages. The version of this interview that I've uploaded to my channel is the entire program, and it has these packages that Mike is talking about. And it's funny, when I watched it recently, a couple months ago, I hadn't seen it in like 20 years. And I couldn't help but think how incredibly awkward it must have been for Ted Koppel to be sitting there next to David Miscavige live in studio while these packages are airing, which were incredibly negative and derogatory about L. Ron Hubbard and Scientology and all this stuff. And that was just watching the interview itself. Now imagine how awkward it must have been knowing that Miscavige had literally just battered an executive producer. It's mind-blowing. And yet it shows us that that kind of behavior from Miscavige isn't something that only came into being later on. I mean, he lost his cool with a non-Scientologist, a member of the press. That could have backfired in the most astounding way. If Ted Koppel had actually confronted Miscavige on air for having just laid hands on an executive producer, I can't even imagine what the consequences of that would have been. So anyway, I played this clip for you, even though Simon & Schuster is almost certainly going to ding my video for this one, like they did the last one. I'm trying to help you guys promote this book. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. If you haven't already gotten A Billion Years, definitely check it out. It's a fantastic book. That's all I got for now, guys. Thank you for watching and listening. Thank you to everyone who watches until the very end, and I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, if you want to see my rock and roll songs, click right on this guitar. And if you want to see a different one of my videos, then you could click right inside here. If you have subscribed or not, subscribe right